In a world shaped by power and controversy, one man has risen above all to divide and define an era. Love him or hate him, Donald Trump is a name you cannot ignore. But what shaped this man? His childhood dreams? His teenage ego? His billion-dollar empire? Or his daring leap into politics? Today, we go inside the mind of Donald Trump. Every man is a product of his childhood. And Donald Trump? He was no different, except his world was built not on playgrounds or fairy tales, but on wealth, power, and discipline. Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York. Donald John Trump was the fourth of 5 children. His father, Fred Trump, was a strict and successful real estate developer, a man who believed that winning was everything, and losing simply not an option. Growing up in a wealthy family meant Donald had privileges that most kids could only dream of, but it also meant pressure, emphatic, immense pressure. He wasn't raised to be ordinary. He was raised to conquer. But young Donald was rebellious. Trouble followed him in the hallways of Q Forest School. He wasn't the teacher's favorite. He wasn't the quiet kid in the corner. He was loud, bold, defiant. By age 13, his parents had had enough. They sent him to the New York Military Academy, a place where discipline was law and emotions were weakness. For Donald, this was his first battlefield, and it's where his competitive spirit hardened into something unbreakable. While other kids played, Trump learned the art of dominance. He thrived in competition, rising to become a student leader, learning how to command others and how to protect his own ego at all costs. The boy who grew up in the streets of Queens was now a young man armored with confidence, ambition, and an unstoppable hunger for more. And then we head on to his teenage. But the story didn't end at the military academy. In fact, it was just beginning. Inside those harsh dormitory walls, young Donald began to transform. The boy who once caused trouble in Queens became a leader. He didn't just follow rules, he learned how to use them to his advantage. He rose through the ranks, leading cadets, playing varsity sports, and developing a sharp competitive edge. For Donald, winning wasn't bigger than anyone around him could see. During this time, something else took root in his mind, the thrill of power and the love for attention. He wasn't afraid to speak up. In fact, he enjoyed the spotlight. Whether on the baseball field or in cadet drills, Trump made sure people noticed him.
But even behind this tough military exterior, he was still a teenager fascinated by money, cars, and admiration. He dreamt not of being a soldier, but a king in his own empire. And after finishing the New York Military Academy, he took his next big step: college. First at Fordham University, then transferring to the Wharton School of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania, one of the most prestigious business schools in America. But Trump wasn't your typical college student. While others chased grades and parties, he studied deals and dollars. His father's business empire was waiting, and Donald was ready to take control. The teenage boy who once disobeyed his teachers was now sharpening his mind to rule the business world. A storm was coming, and his name was Donald J. Trump. Fresh out of Wharton, Trump didn't waste a second. While most graduates looked for jobs, Donald inherited a battlefield: his father's real estate business in New York. Fred Trump had built a modest empire of middle-class housing in Brooklyn and Queens. But for Donald, that wasn't enough. He wanted Manhattan, the skyline, the spotlight, the risk. In the 1970s, Manhattan was a decaying jungle of abandoned buildings and financial collapse. But where others saw danger, Trump saw opportunity. His first major victory? The Grand Hyatt Hotel. A failing property that Donald transformed into a glamorous success story. It was bold, risky, and it worked. And just like that, the Trump name wasn't just known in Queens. It was shining in the heart of New York City. But business wasn't always golden. The 1980s brought both triumph and disaster. Trump Tower rose as a symbol of wealth and ego. Casinos in Atlantic City promised fortunes but delivered debt. He bought yachts, airlines, and even tried his hand at football. But his empire was cracking beneath the surface. By the early 1990s, Trump was drowning in billions of dollars in debt. Banks were circling. Critics predicted his downfall. But Trump didn't quit. He restructured his debts, rebranded his image, and, more importantly, turned himself into the product. The Trump name became a global brand. Hotels, golf courses, reality TV shows, especially The Apprentice, where his famous catchphrase, "You're fired," turned him into a household name far beyond business circles. He wasn't just a real estate mogul anymore. He was a celebrity, a symbol of wealth, power, and controversy. But the question remained, how long could he keep building before it all came crashing down? Behind every empire, there's a personal story, and Donald Trump's was no less dramatic than his business deals. In 1977, he married Ivana Trump, a Czech model and skier. Together, they became New York's power couple, glamorous, rich, and unstoppable. They had 3 children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. And for a while, it seemed like the Trump dynasty was set to last forever. But wealth and power often attract temptation. And in the late 1980s, Trump's affair with model Marla Maples made front-page news. Tabloids couldn't get enough. His personal life became a public spectacle. Ivana and Donald's divorce in 1992 was messy, expensive, and brutal, but it didn't slow him down. In 1993, he married Marla, and they had a daughter, Tiffany. Yet even that marriage eventually collapsed. Finally, in 2005, Trump married Melania Knaus, a Slovenian model, who would later become America's first lady. Together, they had one son, Barron Trump. Trump's personal life was filled with luxury, scandal, and constant media attention. But it also showed something deeper, his hunger to be admired, adored, and remembered. Whether in business or love, Donald Trump played every part like it was his greatest deal yet. And the next